I want to talk to you about how long it takes to receive an equipment loan. So if you're looking for an equipment loan this year, you got to really have a clear idea about the timing that it really takes. Okay, but one thing for sure is that it can take anywhere from 1 day to 90 days to actually get equipment financing, depending on the lender and type of loan that you actually go for. I mean, if you go to banks or credit unions, your time might be a little longer than if you were to go to an online lender or even an alternative lender. Okay, so it depends also the kind of niche you're in. I mean, some niches are pretty fast. Let's say if you are looking for a cargo van financing and you need the vehicle for your business, for your delivery business, you might actually be luckier. You might be lucky to get financing faster than if you are, let's say, a regular company looking for, let's say, machinery, for instance. So it really depends on the niche you're in and also the business model that you actually have. Okay. So one thing for sure, large banks and SBA loan providers actually take the longest to fund equipment loans, but they actually can fund large amounts. So you can actually finance hundreds of thousands of dollars, even millions of dollars in equipment loans. But the thing is that the loan will take longer to actually close. Okay, so basically, if you are, I mean, this is logical, really makes sense. If you are applying for a $50,000 equipment loan, you might actually be more likely to you are more likely to close the loan within a few days than if you are going to search for a loan for $1 million. Okay, so submitting a complete application with the required documentation can actually expedite loan processing. Of course, the paperwork that lenders want when it comes to equipment loan the paperwork depends on the lender, but also the type of equipment that you actually are looking to finance. Okay, so how long it takes to get an equipment loan can vary significantly. Okay, and you have to understand that since equipment loans are a frequent need for many business owners, you have many options from bank and online lenders to equipment manufacturers. By the way, you also have loan marketplaces. So this is kind of cool. So how long does it take for you to receive an equipment loan? Let me really dig a little deeper here. One thing you need to understand here is that you can get an equipment loan as fast as within 24 to 48 hours. Okay, 1 to 2 days, no problem. That's totally possible, especially if you have a smaller loan amount. I think I've said this before. So the smaller the loan amount, the better for you. Okay, so but you have to apply with the right lender and have all your business documents in order. I'm not just speaking about the let's say the invoice from the equipment supplier. Not this is not the paperwork I'm speaking about. I'm speaking about the paperwork that actually relates to the company itself. So your profit and loss statement, your balance sheets, your income statements, your cash flow statements, all that kind of stuff. Okay. Now, funding timelines, remember, vary between the type of lender and the loan amount that you want, but also the geography. So it maybe in your state, because see, banking is regulated at the state level. So you could be like if you are in California, banking regulations are different from say North Carolina or even New York. Okay, so every state has different regulations. One thing for sure, you may pay more interest for the speed of an online lender compared to bank business loans. So if you get an equipment loan at a bank, it might take longer, but you will get a lower APR. Okay, so if you're not in a rush for funding and qualify, an SBA or a bank loan will have, let's say, will often have a more competitive rate for you. So let's talk about banks and credit unions. So although banks and credit unions offer more competitive rates, they may take longer to fund an equipment loan, especially when it comes to the amount. So you'll want to plan somewhere from a few days to 30 days on average, okay? And you have the possibility to apply online. So you can apply online. They will ask for all kinds of documentations. So all kinds of documentation. and the underwriting process can take longer because many banks use humans to evaluate a loan instead of the underwriting software that many online lenders use. So you have different setups, different underwriting models to even to think about. So if you are trying to get an equipment loan through an SBA loan provider, you have like you better be patient because SBA loans are notoriously long to receive. I'm speaking several weeks to 90 days. That's how long an SBA loan takes. I mean, the reason is that SBA loans are partially guaranteed by the government, so the eligibility criteria are even stricter. Okay, so SBA, when it comes to SBA loans, you have two primary loan products that you want to think about. So you have the 7A and the 504 loans. So you're looking at 7A, SBA 7A, and SBA 504. And those have a typical funding time of 30 to 90 days. And the express loan is much faster since the SBA doesn't need to directly approve the loan, right? What really makes the loans, the equipment loans that you have through the SBA longer to qualify for is just because the SBA, which is a U.S. Agency, a U.S. government agency, the SBA has to approve the loan. So they have their own process and they have their bureaucracy too. And they also have their backlog. So if you apply at a moment when they have a large backlog, your loan might be sitting there for a while, and they don't really use artificial intelligence to approve equipment loans or other loans. They actually have a human approval, right? So that's what it is. Now, if you're looking for, let's say, a faster loan process, go with the express loan. And the express loan timeline depends on the lender's usual process for approving loans, which can take a week or more, right? Now, some SBA approved alternative lenders can get your equipment loan approved and funded much faster than the normal for SBA loans, okay? And it's all about the niche you're in. It's all about the target audience you go after. But one thing for sure, large national banks may take the full 30 to 90 days to fund your equipment loan. So if you want to get, but see, the cool thing is that SBA loans for equipment can actually can fund you at a larger scale. You can fund like $1 million or $5 million or $10 million, depending on like your niche. If you're looking for equipment loans and you're thinking about how long it takes to get such loans, I want to talk to you about online lenders. See, the thing is that when you think about online lenders, you have to understand that you have a variety of online lenders. So don't think that when you think about online lenders, don't think, oh, it's lenders that actually operate from the internet. No, you have loan marketplaces. Those are online lenders too. When I say loan marketplaces, I'm speaking about National Business Capital. I'm speaking about Lendio, for instance. Those are online lenders. You also have direct lenders. You have indirect lenders. So when it comes to online lenders, you have lenders that give you the money right away, but you have lenders that actually are serving as brokers, okay? So online lenders actually overall are a great source of fast money for equipment loans. In other words, if you're looking for an equipment loan and you say, listen, I have only 72 hours, I want to close this loan as soon as possible, go for an online lender because a bank or a credit union is going to drag their feet forever, okay? But just be ready, like I said a little earlier, be ready to pay more. Like basically, you can have 3 or 4 points more in APR. So what I'm saying here is that where a bank might charge you 7% or 8% in APR for an equipment loan, an online lender might charge you 12%, 11%. And if you're lucky, they're not going to charge you closing cost. Okay. So, I mean, because when you think about equipment loan, don't just think about the APR. You got to think about the closing cost, but also the origination fees, if applicable, because some online lenders actually charge you an origination fee to actually issue the loans, right? So you want to really pay attention to those things. And but the cool thing is that Online lenders are the fastest funding option. They also have relaxed criteria, so they can approve you with a credit score even as low as 500. Why? Because an equipment loan is by definition a collateralized loan. You don't need to really collateralize the loan. The loan is already collateralized because the lender will retain the title to this equipment until you pay off the full balance. Okay, so that's when the equipment becomes yours. So you can actually think about the lenders such as Taycore Financial or Triton Capital, okay, or even Balboa Capital, helping you get funded within days, if not hours. It really is totally possible. When it comes to equipment financing, sometimes you might actually be luckier to go to the source. What I call the source is you can go to the manufacturer himself or herself. So if you are, let's say, you want to really finance a Caterpillar sort of device, or not device, a Caterpillar machine, you just maybe go to Caterpillar itself, right? So manufacturer financing takes a little longer, that's for sure, because they have a whole system in place, and but that just means also that you are actually exclusive. Your sales process is exclusive to the manufacturer. So if you go into a Caterpillar, you can only finance a Caterpillar product, right? So as long as you have some kind of loyalty vis-a-vis a specific brand, you want to really consider manufacturer financing, okay? And manufacturer financing is also it's kind of similar to a lease. When you have a lease agreement, for instance, okay? So instead of going to an online lender, to a bank or a credit union, you just go straight to the manufacturer and actually you want to present your situation, your business model, and what kind of relationship, if any, you've had with them for the last few years. Because the longer you have, like the existing relationship, like if you have an existing relationship with them, the more likely you are going to be approved, because they actually value some kind of history with them, okay? And so if you apply for funding through an equipment manufacturer, you may be able to get your loan funded quickly, that's for sure, but you can only buy their equipment. So a manufacturer or seller usually has preferred, let's say, lenders they work with. So like all equipment loan options, it will depend on the type of equipment and the seller itself, right? But also depends on the geography you're in, as well as the niche you're in. Some niches are, let's say, they are by default competitive, and others, no problem, okay? So one thing I want to say here is that you have to really do a little bit of research and make sure you don't just jump at the first offer. Because although using an in-house financing option can be quicker, you may receive a higher rate due to the convenience, that's for sure. But also you have to understand that you are paying for convenience, but also you are paying for loyalty to a specific brand. The brand knows that brand are more likely to charge you higher, because they know that if you came to them, that's because you liked them in the first place. So let me talk to you about the process for getting an equipment loan this year. So the thing is that if you want to increase your chances of getting an equipment loan, everything goes back to the kind of research you're doing at the very beginning, right? Depending on how sophisticated the equipment is, you might need to do a little bit of research. Some equipment takes a small amount of time, like a small amount of time to research, while others require days, if not weeks, right? It's all about how sophisticated the equipment is. If you are buying, let's say, high-tech products, for instance, you may have to spend more time doing due diligence, okay? And so you want to check the requirements, because every lender has its own eligibility requirements, okay? And for example, the lender may set a specific time in business, minimum credit score, and minimum annual revenue that it requires to work with you, okay? Confirm that your business meets or exceeds the minimum before applying. Like, one thing for sure, banks and credit unions may have stricter requirements than online lenders, but still, some online lenders want you to be in business for 2 years, have an annual revenue of $10,000, a monthly revenue of $10,000, or something of that sort. It really depends on the lender, but depends also on the type of equipment you want to finance. So check the requirements first. Make sure that you actually comply, and you want to compare lenders. Like I said to you a little earlier, you have different types of equipment loans, which means you have different types of equipment loan providers. If you go to online lenders, you go to traditional banks, or you go to SBA loans, you have different lenders, okay? Compare all of them. And when I say compare, I'm not just speaking about looking at the APR. I mean, the APR just makes sense because that's the direct cost for you to see. But you also want to pay attention to the lender's fees. Like I said, some lenders charge you fees, for example, closing costs or origination fees, okay? So those add up to the total cost of the loan, actually. You also have the processing time. And I mean, some equipment loans may take a few hours or even a few days to complete, while others, like I said to you, SBA loans, they may take days, if not weeks, to complete. And finally, think also about the interest rates. I mean, interest rates, that's a very easy way to compare and contrast equipment loan providers anyway, okay? You want to really apply with multiple lenders. Don't put all your eggs in the same basket, okay? Apply with multiple lenders and see which one is actually good for you, okay? And wait during the underwriting. Don't really be too impatient, because if you're too impatient, you are going to lose money in terms of higher APR. So take your time, okay? And also receive your loan funds. So if you are approved, receive your loan funds, give the lender your business bank account so they can transfer the funds directly to your account. So when it comes to receiving an equipment loan, remember that the bottom line here is that organization and choosing actually the right small business lender will have the biggest impact on how long it takes to get an equipment loan, okay? Your own organization, how you organize your paperwork, how fast you can provide the documentation, how fast you can, because some equipment actually requires thorough analysis. So just remember that you might have up to 90 days to actually wait, okay? So just be patient throughout the process. And it's important to also understand that equipment loans typically allow you to purchase new or used equipment with the loan funds. And the loan, like I said before, is backed by the equipment as collateral. So you will likely be limited in how you can use the funds. So the use of loan proceeds actually is important. I mean, some lenders may even send the funds directly to the equipment seller. In other words, you're not receiving the funds at all. No, they're just paying the equipment seller right away. Okay, so this is something to really account for. One thing I want to say also is that how long it takes to repay an average, let's say to repay on average an equipment loan, depend on the loan amount, but also the equipment itself, because everything is tied to the equipment's useful life. So if you have equipment that's actually going to be around for 30 years or 15 years or 20 years, the repayment window can be actually somewhere like around 10 or 15 years, okay? But if you have equipment that has a useful life of 5 years or 10 years, the banks might want you to really repay them like within 5 years. So it all depends. So in conclusion to this conversation, when you think about how long it takes to receive an equipment loan, it depends on the lender, on the type of equipment that you have, okay? Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.